Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen O'Connor from Quilter 7 in Northbrook, Illinois, and I am the Opinionated Quilter. Today's episode, number 161, is Let's Make a Potholder. Why a potholder, you ask? We'll get to that in a minute. But first, I have found many new quilters in the shop lately, and they are quoting things from things they've read on the internet, YouTube videos they've seen, and they say things to me that are just not true. Um, and as a new quilter, when they see an instructor say something, one would believe that that would be good information. Many, many times it is not. So new quilters beware. Not everyone is giving you good instruction. What's a tip-off? Absolutes. When someone says, you must always do this, or never do this. Those are tip-offs, because almost every single thing that it would be a general rule in quilting, there's always an exception to. I should say almost always an exception to. About the only thing I can think of that I can find absolutely no reason to do this bad practice is the half square triangles, 4 at a time, where you take 2 squares, put them right sides together, sew around the outside edge, and then cut across diagonally. That gives you bias edges on your outside, and you've sewn on your straight grain. The other methods have you sew on the bias edges first, cut, and you now have straight of grain on your outside edges. When someone tells you to do the 4 at a time, that should be some hairs going back up on the back of your neck saying, this isn't right. This person is not telling me everything the right way to do it. So it's just a beware. I want to emphasize that it's your quilt, it's your project, you get to do it your way. I just try to give you the best methods, but almost always there's a reason to break a rule. There are no rules, there are no quilt police. It's your project. You get to make it how you like it. Now, let's get to the episode. The potholder. The lowly potholder in your kitchen. Why do I want to make them? One is, if you know anyone who can buy anything they want and need for nothing, a potholder is one of the best gifts you can give. You've made it yourself. It's a gift from the heart. You haven't spent a whole lot of money. And generally, the receivers of the potholders that I've given absolutely love them. So let's go through the way I make them. There are many variations, and you can, again, make it as you like. This is what I found works best for me. I start with a 6-inch finished block. I have on many occasions made what I think are just slightly too big potholders for actual good use in the kitchen. As you're pulling something out of the oven, you don't want a potholder so big that the edge of the potholder touches your food. Hence, I have made mine a little on the smaller side. So this isn't a lesson on how to make the 6-inch block. You pick whichever block you like. You use scraps of fabric that you already have. Now you want to take that 6-inch block and border it. Why do you want to border it? Well, if you're going to traditionally bind it, if you don't sew it exactly a 1/4 inch, you could cut off points. In my method, I do the right sides together, sew around, and flip it inside out. And I do that at a 1/2 inch. So I would definitely I shouldn't say destroy, but not have an actual 6-inch finished block anymore. If I cut off a 1/2 inch on both sides, I'd now have a 5.5-inch block. So by adding the 1.5-inch border, when you do the sew around at a 1/2 inch, you leave your whole 6-inch finished block intact. You now need, besides your 6-inch finished block, you need an 8.5-inch square of Insulbrite, an 8.5-inch square of cotton batting, and an 8.5-inch square of backing. You also need a 1.25-inch strip of fabric for the loop. I always use a larger piece strip than I actually need for the loop. I would rather have a little extra and trim it off than not have enough. So for one, I suppose I would probably do a 5-inch strip. You don't use that much. Now, let's go down to the cutting mat and I will show you exactly how I do it. To make the loop, I use a method that I have used many times for different uses over the years. I take my 1.25-inch strip, I fold it in half and I press it, and then I open it up and fold up to the center fold, press, and fold over and press. So you get something that looks like this. And then I take this to the sewing machine and I sew just very close to the edge here and very close to the edge on the other side. Now with black on black, you really can't see the stitches, but they are there, closing up this end here and then here on this side. This is the exact same loop that I used for the loop on the Christmas stocking. And this one you can see the stitches a little bit better on. And this is a little bit wider loop. Depending on what you're making, you can definitely have different size loops. This is the same method that I used to make the that I used to make the straps for my bag. Now in this case, this is a much wider piece of fabric and I actually put batting in it, but it's the same method of folding your strip in half, bringing up to the center and folding in half again. And in this case, because it's so wide, I didn't just do the stitch on the edge, I also did an additional 1/4 inch in on both sides, but it's all the same exact method. So once you make your loop, and this is the one that's finished, so I'm going to pick this one up. You now take your squares of batting, Insulbrite, backing, and your block, and you layer them. I have the batting first, I have my block second, right sides facing to the back, and the Insulbrite. And now on here you can see I drew a line a 1/2 inch all the way around. You don't have to do that. I found that easier than using the lines on my sewing machine, but any way you want, any method that works for you, you want to sew around, leaving an opening for turning. Now normally when I do an opening for turning, I start on the edge, come in off the edge and come up to the line, go around, come to where you're going to now come off and go off. In this case, I've learned that I just want to start on the line and end on the line on the first sewing. So you need to, before you sew, you need to put your loop in. And you put your loop in inside, and then you go so that when you do sew around, you catch the loop in. Now once that's done, because the Insulbrite and the batting are so thick, I went around and trimmed it down. And I also cut the corners off on all 4 sides. And then I went back after doing that, both on the Insulbright side and the batting side. And this thread is light, so I don't think you can see it, but I sewed from the blue line off of the fabric, from the blue line off of the fabric. Why was that important for me to do? Because when I turn it inside out, these pieces are going to be folded in exactly the way I want them. So now that it's all sewn, you turn right side out. And it's just going to take 1 second here. If it takes too long, we'll fast forward through it. And then you can use a purple thing. You can use your quilter's magic wand, whatever, to punch out the corners. But this does take a minute to get it nice and the way you want it to look. There's my loop coming out. So once you get it all punched out, now I would work on this a little bit more, but this is what I want to show you. Because I did that final stitching, this is already folded in. So I fold the one in over top of the cotton batting, and the other side goes in over the Insulbright. And then I press this all, and I wouldn't press it like this. I would get this all nice and neat. And then you sew around the edge to close up that opening. And you really have to look to see where it is. I can see it, but most non-sewers to the naked eye are not going to see where this closed up. And on some of my versions, I find that I do want to do a second row of stitching around. In this case, this looked good to me. I didn't even do any quilting. You can. If I quilted this, I would probably just in the ditch around here. But I think this turned out really nice, and it doesn't take long at all. Now, I have an example of a potholder that was given by a quilting friend to one of my staff. And this is why I like my method of not binding it by doing the right sides together. First of all, putting binding on a small project is difficult just to start with. To put your ends together in a space that's only this wide, it's really hard. When you've got even a baby quilt or even a placemat, you've got much more space to be able to work. And this is why. This quilter did just the tuck-in method. These are not joined. You can see I can get the purple thing in there. This was not the world's best binding job. You can see the red stitching here that should be up on here. This binding was attached from the back and brought to the front. So you really want to have a nice even stitch holding this down. This was not the best corner turns, but that wouldn't bother me. It's more this lump here and the showing of the red stitching. And I'm not sure why there's this white stitching here. It's kind of not even. So what I want to do for my employee is I'm planning to take this binding off, fix this, and re-put the binding back on for her, because even though the points are cut off, and that's what I was talking about, that if you don't sew this exactly perfectly at a 1/4 inch, it's really quite a cute, colorful potholder. So I want to make it a little bit more presentable for her to use. So that's my project this week. One other thing about the pot holders is you don't have to make a block. I actually brought this from home. I made this, I don't know how long ago. This is one where I found I made it a little too large, but I still like it. I still use it. And I put my loop in the center here. And that is a little bit easier to get the loop in the center than in the corner. However, I like how it looks in the corner better. So I tried both. I end up, even though harder, like the look better, easier, don't like the look as much. So it's just a decision you have to make. Now, because I didn't piece the block, I did go ahead and quilt it lines an inch apart. And it does take a little bit more time probably than doing the non-quilting method with piecing the block, but either way, if you make something homemade for someone, what a great hostess gift to bring to a summer party. You know, something colored like this that's so bright and cheery, anybody you give this to would absolutely love it. So that's the episode. I hope you have fun using your scraps and stash to make pot holders for your family and friends. Let's get to the winner of the giveaway. The winner of the giveaway of napkins and more is Christy Williams 9181. That's Christy with a K. KRISTYWILLIAMS 9181. Please send me your mailing address to quiltersheaveninc@gmail.com and I will get that fabric out to you. I did some cleaning this past week and I found a lot of good stuff to put into the giveaway pile. For today, I'm calling it red hot chili peppers. I have no idea why I collected these fabrics over the last several years, but they've been sitting there doing absolutely nothing. So if you're a red chili lover and you want to make a quilt with this fabric, enter to win it, and you know how to do it. Like this video, comment on this video, and put in the comments red hot chili peppers and subscribe to my channel. We really want to get the numbers of subscriptions up. So share my videos with your friends if they don't already watch them. Also, I've been really searching deep for content and struggling. So please, any suggestions for episodes that you're looking for, questions that you have regarding patterns or block construction, please put them in the comments and I will take a look and hopefully be able to do a video on that. So that's it for now. Until next time, thanks for watching and happy sewing.